I'd like to call to order the Cache County Planning Commission meeting for February 6th. I'd like to welcome everyone here and glad you made the effort to come tonight. I have the opening remarks and the pledge tonight, so I choose to say my opening remarks in the form of a prayer. I'll say that. Our Father in heaven, we're grateful for this country we live in and the freedoms that we enjoy and the opportunity to have our freedoms and voice our opinion, our views. We ask you, Father, to please be with us this night and with our families, and at the end of this meeting, we'll be able to travel home safely. In the name of Jesus Christ, amen. Let's stand and repeat the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Commissioners, do you have any questions, or have you reviewed the agenda and do you approve it? Can I get a motion on that?
Oh, yeah. I was just going to suggest, too, that we might want to mention for the start about the Smithfield deal, so that there's a few people that might be
for the
here.
conquest?
After we get through the agenda.
Okay, yeah. We can do that.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the agenda.
Okay.
Second.
Okay. All in favor? Aye. Okay, any questions? Have you had a chance to approve the minutes from last time on January 9th?
They were nice and simple, so they looked good.
Yeah, 5 minutes long, right?
I'll make a motion to approve those.
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right, our first regular action item is the Conquest Minor Extraction, CUP. Connor, if you could.
Yeah, so the traffic impact study is still a point of concern. We ended up doing a third party to do the analysis, or not the analysis, but do the traffic count for us. Unfortunately, that wasn't available, didn't get to us fast enough for a thorough review, which I would definitely prefer. So we're just asking for a continuation of 1 month.
Okay.
You guys heard that, right?
Oh, we're just asking for a continuation on the Conquest item, just so we have enough time to do a good analysis on the traffic impact study.
So you've received it, but just recently?
Yeah, we have a count, and Public Works is just going through and doing the review right now. It just took time, and so like I said, I'd just rather have a good review.
So like a 30-day continuance?
Yeah, just
Okay.
until the next meeting.
Okay.
I hope you guys take into consideration future of that.
We can't.
Okay.
I could talk to Matt, definitely.
I'll make a motion to
Okay.
continue that for up to 30 days.
Okay.
A second motion.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Let's see, we're not quite to this first item with the Galley subdivision, because it's at 5:45. Can we move that?
Mr. Chairman, you can
Go to the Mendon South Canal CUP. Connor, is that we can go over the Mendon CUP?
You can do that.
Okay.
Okay, here we go. Alrighty, so the Mendon South Canal CUP is a request to operate a utility facility distribution. Essentially what they're gonna do is pipe a canal. They got funding through the government and they're just going for it. There are quite a few parcels that are involved. It goes, if you look at the map here, it kind of snakes up and along here. Of important note is there's 2 parcels that are inside of inside of Mendon City. And so just per the CUP, just our first condition is that they have to, the applicant has to work with Mendon City on those 2 parcels. The applicant did provide a letter of intent. So the scope of the project, approximately 2.6 miles of canal will be piped with dual wall corrugated high density polythene HDPE pipe. The pipe alignment will follow the existing canal alignment. The size and length of proposed pipe, it does mix up. There's about 2,800 feet of 30-inch pipe, and then about 10,500 feet of 24-inch pipe. There's also going to be the creation of 24 diversion boxes. Most of these boxes will be 5 feet by 5 feet by 5.3 feet. Concrete structure with an 18-inch outlet leading to the fields. There are 2 variations on box D16 and box D18, but it's just turn point, and then just one's a little bit higher. The goal of the project is essentially just to better help conserve water that's being lost to evaporation, leakage, and soil infiltration. Per the LOI, the source of the water is Merrill Spring, which is, I'm gonna scroll down a little bit, right here. And they're allowed to use it through the months of May and October. It's likely that the canal has an existing prescriptive easement. It's been there for the better part of 150 years, probably. But for this, they're gonna need to get new temporary and permanent easements for pipeline construction, operation, and road access. The temporary easements will just be part of the construction phase, and the permanent will just be for the operation phase. The applicant land disturbance. The applicant will need to obtain a land disturbance permit because they'll probably be disturbing well over that limit. The applicant is also responsible for obtaining any other clearances, authorizations, or permits from any impacted or relevant government agencies. The plans that were submitted were preliminary, just so once they get to a point of recording the permit, they need to submit final plans. And then from there, there is some concern in terms of roads. There will be crossing the county right of way at a couple of points. And there'll also be work in the county right of way. So at the end of the project, no above ground irrigation system can be part of the county right of way. An encroachment permit is also required before they start this work in the right of way. Matt specifically called out the crossing at 2900 South, 2400 South, 2200 South, and 5400 West. So once those plans are also completed, they'll have to include detail on how that'll be performed. Parking needs for this project will be limited, so basically the applicant just needs to ensure that traffic isn't impeded and there's no major impacts of local land use. The applicant will also be responsible for the removal of any waste. And then from there, there are some known or reasonably anticipated detrimental effects. Stormwater, construction plans will need to be submitted to the Public Works Department prior to recording the permit. And then from there, plans will have to, typically in the county, stormwater and canals can be tied together. And there is one, I believe, that is tied together. I think it's 2000 South and 5400 West. That's both stormwater and canal part, so they just need to work on how they're gonna mitigate that in the future. Noxious weeds. The project will disturb a large area and bring in fill from other sites. So those need to work with the Cache County Vegetation Management Division and come up with a weed management plan. Air quality, basically those have to do best management practices just to mitigate that any dust that kicks up as part of it. And then from there, sensitive areas, geologic hazards. There is liquefaction present, but because it's an agricultural structure, they're just exempt from that geotechnical requirement. Floodplain, it does cross the floodplain at a couple of points, so the applicant will need to get a floodplain development permit. Wetlands, there's some wetlands that are nearby. It doesn't necessarily, from what I can see, the construction project doesn't necessarily impact those wetlands, but in the event that it does appear that they will, the applicant will have to submit a sensitive lands analysis. And then from there, there are some agricultural protection areas that they cross, and the one big concern that we found is that there is an endangered species along the way. It's inside of a Mendon City parcel, and it's for Utes, ladies' tresses. Let's see. It's this parcel right here. And so basically, they'll just have to reach out. I spoke with Bear River Land Conservancy, and I have the contact information for the guy that I was speaking to over there who manages this area. Basically, the applicant will just need to reach out to them and then just work with Mendon City and work through that, and then just submit a letter to us from both Bear River and Mendon City so we can solve that. And then as-built surveys will need to be delivered in electronic format and submitted to the Public Works Department. And then in terms of noticing, noticing was all completed on the 24th of January, so that's the Utah Public Notice website. It was posted in 3 public places, and notices were mailed to all property owners within 300 feet. At the time of writing this report, we hadn't received any public comments, but in the meantime, we've received a few. So. And then the list of conditions is right there, and that's what we propose.
Okay, thank you. Any thoughts, commissioners, on this? CUP.
Hey Connor, what's, entailed in getting that flood development permit?
Matt would probably be a better one to ask. It's not, I don't think, super difficult to do, but
You know what the fee is on it?
I'm not sure.
Matt is here.
Matt, please.
Oh, that's not bad, I guess $25. How entailed is that permit to get for something like this?
Not very, but we're required by FEMA to gather that information, so.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure it wasn't like a $2,000 permit fee that we were gonna lay on them that didn't really do anything.
Any other comments?
The applicant might have some updates. I noticed him shaking his head 2 or 3 times.
Already spent a couple $1,000, just get to this point,
Would you like to come up to the microphone so we can hear you on the record?
Yeah, I didn't figure we'd have as much problem as we've had getting things rolling with, a ditch that we have a right to and have had the right to forever and have been able to use without any problems over the years. All we want to do is put a pipe in the ditch so we can take the water to the end of the ditch where we haven't been able to get it to for the last number of years because it all seeps out, leaks out, or evaporates. The state's on board with it. NRCS is involved. The state's glad to see us do it. We've got a couple grants to take care of. It looks like a good share of the project. It sounds like I don't know what we need to do as far as developing any further. I was thinking that the fact that we have the NRCS designing the program and the plans that we submitted, I was told by the NRCS were 95% done. Their computer broke down and weren't able to finish it in time for us to get them put in. And I don't know if they still got it done yet. It's been about a month or so. And they still hadn't got their computers fixed to where they could finish the design. But my thinking was, once we get the design done from the NRCS, the government agency, I would think that design would satisfy the. I'm thinking it's going to satisfy the contractors. I suspect that it should satisfy the county. As far as the road crossings and such, I was under the impression that that those people were going to have been talked to before we got to this point by the county. Apparently that's not, I misunderstood something. I don't know if they've not been talked to, if they're not on board with us crossing the, most of these roads are gravel lanes. There's only one paved road that we're crossing. And as far as that one borrow pit that's along 2000 south on down on 5400, I was thinking too that the stormwater folks would have already taken a look at that, because I was thinking that these plans and this information would have been passed to these people. Everybody involved in the program would have been notified of what was going on, but apparently I misunderstood something, or so apparently we need to still talk to some people in the county yet and do something with electronic plans or whatever. I don't know exactly what all we're going to have to do, but my feeling was that once we got our design from the NRCS, the government, submit the plans, and go ahead. This endangered species plant thing, freaking joke, but whatever. The conservancy districts, we've had Gabe out there, and they're excited about having it in a pipe because they can't get any water to their endangered species plant, I guess. Anyway, they'll be able to do that now, so it's going to help that endangered species, so we can put that on the application. We're going to help this endangered species. Anyway, I can't see any reason why The project should be held up. I'd like to see them say yay and let's get this project underway. We've been waiting long enough to get it done, so any questions from you guys?
So some of that, Tom, might be that, so the NRCS plan is gonna show the design for the pipeline itself. It won't have the road crossing design specs that the county will require, so that'll have to be added.
All that
to it.
is a piece of plastic pipe under the road.
I know,
Under a
but-
freaking gravel road.
but when the
How
county
much-
owns it in there,
How
they-
much
they've gotta make
design
sure
do
it
we
has-
need to get a piece of plastic pipe
You'd be
into a
surprised.
ditch that's already there? A piece of culvert that's already there, they're gonna take the culvert out.
Put a
they're
new
gonna
one in.
Put the other culvert in, and we're gonna get going. No, let's get an engineer in here and tell us how to do it.
Unfortunately, that's the
The
hoop we have to jump
contractor
through.
has no idea how to do it.
We're doing the same thing on my canal. We just got this
Good
approval on my
night.
canal 6 months ago, so I understand your frustration.
Well, I am
There's
frustrated.
A few hoops that'll have to be
If you
jumped
can't
through still
guess.
before you can start. That
Well,
process.
you know, that's just something else we'll have to engineer that'll cost us more money.
Unfortunately, when we get over that 24-inch pipe,
Well, it's not over 24. It's 24.
isn't the first part 30 inch, didn't it say?
Yeah, the first part's 30 inch and it crosses one road.
So have you read through these 17,
18.
18 conditions and the 3 conclusions?
You say there's 18 conditions we need to meet?
There are.
Yes.
And some of them bundle into one when you.
Yeah,
work with-
okay,
with the
whatever.
Department, but there are 18 on there.
Okay, I need to get a list of that. Been nice to see that list before we came.
Yeah, I would have thought they would have sent this out to you before the
Yeah, it should be in your email.
meeting.
I didn't see anything in the email.
I can check.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
just one question for you guys. Are you planning on, it may have been in there, and if it was, I missed it, but are you planning on leaving the existing ditch
No,
open?
we're laying it in the ditch and covering it.
Okay, so you just, I don't know, might want to have coordination with, this isn't part of this, but just from past experience, you might want to have coordination with the powers that be, especially in the drainage areas and stuff, because them canals are lifesavers in these spring runoffs and such.
This isn't a storm drain, this is our irrigation canal.
But, and I understand that, they still help with it, just be aware of
Yeah,
it.
we'll be aware of it, yeah.
Yeah. One of the conditions has that in there, Brady, that they gotta coordinate on overflow stuff, yeah.
Okay. Any other questions for Mr. Walbridge?
Well, unfortunately, those are the conditions that are pretty much every one of these irrigation plans, so.
Yeah,
Oh.
it
Commissioner,
doesn't make them right.
Jerry,
Okay.
you got another question in the audience from one of the other
Okay.
applicants.
Yes.
You gotta come up,
here
Dennis.
and- Yeah, state your name, right? Okay.
I run the ground for the Bear River Land Conservatory, and their concern is that the plant does better if it's irrigated and it's wet. The last 2 years, there's no water there to irrigate the plant. Doesn't make it that far. So I don't,
Yeah, so I think getting that letter from them should be pretty easy. They'll probably write a letter saying, put it in as quick as you can,
Yeah, they seem very
I think,
unconcerned with
yeah,
that. Like, I don't think.
which is a good thing.
yeah, we have to try to keep it.
Can you-
Dennis Jensen,
Thank you.
we just need to try to keep everything like it's been so we don't cause any destruction to the
Yep,
plant.
existing plants.
Okay. Thank you. Any other comment? Okay, commissioners?
I'd make a motion, we approve the Mendon South Canal conditional use permit with its 18 conditions and 3 conclusions.
Second motion.
Go ahead. Okay, all in favor? Aye. Okay, great. Okay, let's jump back up now to the public hearing.
Just say thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. Okay, we'll go up to the public hearing, the Galley subdivision rezone. Connor, if you can give us a report on that.
Alrighty, so the Galley subdivision rezone, it's a request to rezone 30.62 acres from the A10 agricultural zone to the rural 5 zone. Should the rezone request be approved, the maximum number of potential lots will be 6. Although the parcel does not match the configuration on August 8th, BLA was conducted, it's still legal. Approved uses in the RU5 zone includes single-family dwelling, accessory apartment, accessory/agricultural structures, home-based business, seasonal cabin, residential living facilities, home-based kennel, bed and breakfast inn, religious meeting house, utility facility distribution, farm stand, boarding facility, site grading. Adjacent uses of the property include primarily agricultural to the east and south and a mix of ag and residential to the north and west. The nearest parcel that's in the RU5 zone is directly south of this parcel. If you'll remember the Marshall Mond Trust rezone that happened last year, that's that parcel. Future land use. The property is located inside of the Mendon City's annexation area. The future Cache County Future Plan, General Plan, states that this is an agricultural and ranching area. Preferred land uses for this include agriculture, ranching, rural residential uses at densities of less than 1 unit per 10 acres, conservation easements, conserved public lands, and agritourism. Secondary land uses include industrial and commercial uses directly supportive of agriculture, so processing, packaging, and distribution, clustered subdivision developments, outdoor recreation, farm worker housing. Discouraged uses includes residential developments at densities of greater than 1 unit per 10 acres, if not in a clustered subdivision development, commercial office, commercial retail, flex office/industrial, and heavy industrial. Currently, the parcel only has frontage along SR 23. It's a UDOT road classified as a minor arterial. It services dwellings and agricultural lands, but it's primarily the main connection between Wellsville and Mendon. These roads are mainly meant to provide high-speed travel with minimum interference through destination point to point. It's maintained by UDOT. It's classified as an access category 4, which means a minimum driveway spacing of 500 feet and a minimum street spacing of 660 feet. Any access to the proposed development must be approved by UDOT. Cache County Fire District had no comments. The applicant will have to work with Waste Management for solid waste disposal. Noticing was posted to the Utah Public Notice website in 3 public places and mailed to all property owners within 300 feet on January 24th. At this time, no public comment has been received. We don't have a recommendation, but we'll help you draft one to County Council.
Okay. Thank you. We'll open to a public hearing. Any thoughts, commissioners?
I had a question, just on the issue where we say, the property does not match the configuration it had in 2006, but it's still, because it had a boundary line in it, but it's still legal. Does that mean that whatever was the original parcel is excluded from this now, or?
So essentially, it's just a boundary line between 2 adjustments. It become restricted if let's say they had 2 parcels and they ended up with 3.
Yeah.
As long as you start with 2 parcels and end with 2 parcels, it's a perfectly legal lot. So I can't tell you exactly how it changed, but just the lot as it is still a legal lot.
Okay. Any other comments? If not, we'll open the public hearing. Motion?
So moved.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All right. Who's here to comment on the Galley rezone? Okay. Please come up and state your name.
Shelley Harris. We live in the property directly west of the land, and we would simply request that it be left 10-acre minimum like we thought the county code was when we bought the property.
Thank you.
How big is your parcel?
So ours was 3 point something, but we bought the lot next to it as well. So we're slightly over, I think we're just under 7.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Excuse me. My name is Gray Wilson. I lost my voice. I'm sorry. I'm an agent for the applicant. We just simply ask for approval. We feel it's consistent with the RU5 zone, with Mendon General Plan, and with the Mon parcel that was approved by County Council just 23 days ago for an identical rezone. So we have already had a pre-app meeting with UDOT. Jeff Gilbert with CMPO had proposed, discussing with Mon a shared access. We have reached out to their agent. UDOT has also reached out to Haslam regarding he has 2 accesses onto his property, and they'd like to clear that up, and we're willing to work with either party, and UDOT to keep that squared up.
I'm Mark Reeder. I represent Jerry and Deanne Haslam that own the frontage in the house that's right there on the property. They're requesting that it stays at the 10 acre. And also, what's not shown on there is there's a well on the south side of the property, straight south of the house. And there's an easement that goes all the way across that property that was sold to take care of that well. I don't see that shown anywhere on this parcel, but there is an easement across there. And there's concerns about where the lots would be, where stuff like that. And that's a huge concern to the Haslams and us. So we would request that it stays at the 10 acres. And there has not been a deal, and there will not be a deal as a shared access with the Haslams. So I don't know what other things they've got going, but there will not be a shared access with the Haslams. Thank you.
Thank you.
How large is the Haslam's their parcel? How large is the Haslam's parcel there?
I don't know. Can you tell me how big it is? There's
Yeah, it might
5 left there.
Sorry, the map's been really slow, so.
Yeah.
So that portion down on the highway with the shed.
got that shed there too, yeah.
And then the home, and then the strip there that goes up the side of the road. And I think it's 5 acres left? 6?
Only me?
Yeah, of yours.
Yeah, about 5.
About 5 acres.
3.6.
3.6. And we do, those 2 entrances that we have are approved by UDOT, but we're not gonna split them up, share accesses, so.
Okay, thank you.
So I'd maybe follow up with the planning department to make sure that easement is recorded on there so that, because even if 3 homes get built, we want to make sure that's covered and protected.
Mike's got it recorded on.
Yeah, and they may not just show up on this layer.
Okay, yeah,
Just make sure that's there.
Mike had it recorded when we sold it, so.
Yep.
Okay.
It's Karma Latham. My husband and I are the landowners directly under the Latham Family Trust. I don't know, I've never been here, I don't know if I can allow more than one comment. I may or may not have a comment, but he read through it so fast I don't even really understood what was going on. So my first question would be, could you slow down and read the proposal better and more just to gather? It was a lot of stuff. And not all of us, my husband understands that, but I don't, he couldn't be here. So I would like him to repeat that a little slower, and then I may or may not have a comment after that. Is that allowed?
We could maybe give you a quick summary. So right now it's zoned A10. So with the 30 acres, there could be 3 homes built on that parcel. They're requesting to switch it to RU5, which would allow for a maximum of 6 homes on that parcel.
That part I understood. It was the use of it when you started. I understand the zoning part. It's what the intended uses. You went on and spilled a lot of stuff about that.
Less than it's allowed on it now.
But is it homes? Is it?
Yeah.
It's homes. It's homes, so 6 homes versus 3 homes. 6 homes versus 3 homes. Okay. But what was all the other stuff then? Because you started going over all this stuff.
He has to read the whole code according to that, so it's on the
So what else is allowed besides a home?
Like accessory
business?
apartment, accessory/agricultural structures, home-based business, seasonal cabin, residential living facilities, home-based kennel, bed and breakfast inn, religious meeting house, utility facility distribution, farm stand, boarding facility, and site grading.
And just to clarify that doesn't, just because it's in a zone doesn't mean that you can do all of those things on there. It has to go through a process.
Right, those are allowed based on the, and those would come here. Those requests would be at the Cache County Council.
Yep.
Okay, I have to formulate that. So I guess whether you give me another chance or not, I still have to formulate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're gonna submit a public comment.
Okay.
After this.
Any other comments?
My name is Teresa Lichty, and I just have a question. When you guys make A10, that should be A10. I don't know how you guys keep switching it, because it's not fair for people that buy lots for 10 acres and then all of a sudden they get a cluster of a subdivision right next to them. So I just don't understand how you can sit and switch from A10 to A5, you know. If you're going to have a rule, you need to keep to the rule. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Lacey Lichty. I just have a concern with this one is the traffic that comes along with it. On Highway 23, I don't know if you have ridden it, but I have ridden it on a bus for the last 11 years, and I can't tell you how much traffic is on there and how scary it is. And people run our bus red lights consistently. It happened Tuesday this week. And for the safety of our kids and the community, I don't know why we keep changing from 10 to rezoning to 5 when this highway is scary enough. So I just want you guys to think about the traffic on this highway. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, gentlemen, audience. My name is John Galley. I am the owner of that property, myself and my wife. What we're looking at doing, first of all, to answer the bus driver's concern, we've been in talks with DOT. We will get a DOT-approved access point to the property prior
Just
to
look at
doing
us when you're talking.
Oh, okay. We'll have a DOT-approved access point prior to. This is going to be a high-end subdivision. I doubt we're going to get 6 homes in there. It's going to be a completely gated community. We're going to line it with trees. It won't be an eyesore at all in any way, shape, or form. As for Mr. Haslam's right-of-way, yes, he does have a right-of-way. That right-of-way is recorded on the deed. We will take that into consideration as well as we plan the subdivision out. We're not looking to fill this with a lot of homes. My wife and I just retired. This is going to be our final place, and we just need a few extra homes around just for whatever, for the ambiance of it all. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments?
My name's Cade Harris. I live just west of the property. Change is hard. I understand that. We're all here to make things happen for everybody that are good. We want the same thing. We want good things. We built for 25 years, so we understand that change needs to happen and that needs to be people sharing space, and we get that. We understand that. But I think my biggest concern with the property is water. We've had a handful of people on our street that have had issues with their wells. Has there been any impact testing done to see what type of impact there will be on the well systems and the water tables? And then my concern also is traffic and stopping. That is a hard highway to stop people on and be able to turn into subdivisions. If it's an issue of needing to share the expense of the property, I would be interested in buying a little piece of the property to the west or to the east there. If that's the case, if it's that you're wanting the ambiance of a subdivision, then that's kind of what we're concerned with. So, thank you.
Thank you. I'll come back up
You gotta
here.
come up here if you want to comment.
With regard to the well issue, I figured this might come up. We are currently working with a company out of Eden, Utah that is registered with the Rural Utah Water Association. They are certified with that association, so we will be doing it so that we're not doing a dozen wells. We'll have the one well, and it'll serve the entire subdivision. And that plan will be forthcoming. We haven't done it just firmly yet. I've just finally gotten some information to them.
I have a question for you. Are you gonna use, do you have rights out of the canal to irrigate that parcel
Yes, sir.
currently? Are you gonna continue to have outdoor watering for those lawns and stuff from the canal? Or will
Yes,
they be
sir.
all out of the well? They'll
Yes,
be
sir.
canal water? to irrigate
Yeah, these will
those?
be larger lots, and most of these folks will be equestrian type-minded folks, so they'll have animals themselves. We generally keep a couple of feeders all year long. My wife has horses. So yeah, we're gonna raise the hay, bale the hay. I've got all my own stuff to do it with. I got a 45-acre ranch in Eden, Utah right now. But yeah, the water wise, we are working with the Rural Utah Association.
Connor, can you scan just a little north on that? Is it,
How far north?
I was just trying to see, I think that big well that Mendon just put in is right there, is it, you can, right above that Ed Carter parcel. I think that little dot, is that, does someone know, is that, or is it just?
Highway.
Oh, it's closer to the highway?
Highway,
Okay.
like,
But on that parcel, isn't it?
it's up.
A little further north,
A
isn't
little
it?
further north, I think.
Yeah.
It's right, it's in that corner on the, let's see here.
No, it's further to the north.
Is it further north?
Yeah, okay, so it's quite a ways away. It's up just south of Dennis's, isn't it?
Keep going. It's right up by Dennis.
Yeah, so I thought it was pretty close to Dennis's.
Oh, there's it right there.
Oh, yeah,
It's right there.
it's mapped, okay, so it's quite a ways away. Did any of your homes, do you notice difference, like, just a broad question, when that went in, cause that's a pretty big well.
Well, so our next door neighbor's well was drilled 20 years ago, so we're actually just up, what would we are southwest, and our neighbor's well of 20 years went dry this summer, so they just had to drill a new well. Since that happened, our well's gone from great water to complete garbage, and we're not sure what's caused that. We have we have 2 iron filters and everything's orange, so we're not sure exactly what's causing that, whether it's the big well down at the end or I don't know, we don't know what that is, but yeah, we've had a well go dry and ours is no longer what it was 3 months ago.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Just trying to see where all those are at. Thanks, Connor.
Any more comments?
My name's Bryce Darley, and going from an A10 to an A5, I thought the purpose of that was to keep 10 acres so it'd be rural, so you'd have that rural. Right now, you guys, I think, have approved another subdivision that's, well, a few more houses going in. It's called the camel, the nose of the camel getting the tender. You guys ever heard that, where you slowly let the camel get in? Pretty soon there's going to be subdivisions all over. I'd like to see that area kept rural. It's a pretty area. There's no reason why. I have no problem with a house for 10 acres like it's zoned for, but other than that, it's a pretty area. I'd like to see it kept rural in that area. So just my 2 cents.
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay. They make a motion? Yes.
Come on up, you gotta go up there.
This is not pertaining necessarily, but one of the requirements is a 300-foot notice, is that correct? Yeah. Anybody within 300 feet? I mean, how many feet are you, even to my property, we're, of course, across the ditch, but there's nobody that's within 300 feet of that as far as homes or people that would be concerned with the area and what's gonna happen there. So all these people on the street above there, anybody that's around there, they're well over a 300 feet radius. So we had no idea what happened on the other subdivision approval, and so I guess that's my only recommendation is maybe that in those rural areas where it's already a 10 acre, then maybe it could be expanded to a little bit longer footage.
Talk about small land houses like bigger.
And then my other comment too on the properties, I mean, over the years we've had great success in developing and helping people build, but we've been able to find people who would rather be on a 10-acre piece than a 5-acre piece that are willing to pay more, you know, and willing to prepare their properties. And anyway, sorry, you guys, but that was my only recommendation. I think we can figure something out and make it work so that everybody's happy and that people can, you know, enjoy the rural effect that we're trying to keep. So, thank you.
Okay, any other comments? Oh.
I'm Phil Bankhead. So this subdivision was in here 6 months ago under a different name. And you guys all decided that these people are talking about are right. So I don't know whether he bought it but doesn't mean that you have to change it for a new owner. And if it was already disapproved, I can't see how, just because there's a new owner, that it should change. And you never really talked about, they're gonna drill a well there for how many houses, and where's that water gonna come from? It's gonna come right through from the spring that's across the road. So another farmer is gonna lose the water that he's had because somebody's drilling it up above them, and they won't have access to it. So I'm asking that you guys don't get in the house building business. It's supposed to be 10 acres. That's what it is. That's how it was when he bought it. And it's not your business to make his dreams come true. Thank you.
Yes.
Question for you, Connor. So when this one came before, it was a request for RU2, wasn't it?
It's never come.
It's never
This
come
one, it
before.
was the one just south.
It was
of
the
that
one
came for RU2.
south of the Mons, yeah.
The one just to the south, and they came back and got the RU5.
Yeah.
What about the property there immediately to the south that the report refers to?
Yeah, that one came in for an RU2, got denied, and then came back for an RU5 and got approved.
Okay.
But this property, the subject property has never come before
Right,
planning commission.
and that zoning was only allowed for 2 lots on that.
2 or 3.
I think it's 3.
Yeah,
Might have been 2.
because it's only 14 acres in size.
2.
Oh, sorry, I thought you were talking about that. Yeah.
Okay. And it wasn't reflected in the mapping because it's so new, I think.
Yeah, there was some
Didn't show
weird
that it was
issues
right
with.
adjacent to it. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Well, if there's no other comment, we'll close the public hearing.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, commissioners, what do you want to do?
For me, we approved one right next to it, and it's in that zone, close to a city, but not touching a city yet, right? When it's touching a city, that's where we try to keep the RU2s. The next zone out is where, in the countywide plan, is where the RU2s fit. So for me, I would be inclined to recommend to the county council to approve the rezone.
Just my comments on this, I struggle with these, you know, I grew up with this place and I hate to see it chopped up into pieces. However, with this one, I drove through there yesterday and looked around and it's like, this area, when you look at the lots and staff's done a good job of showing us what's there, this is the character of that neighborhood. I mean, the majority of those lots are just what is being proposed, and so that's where I'm leaning as well.
You mind if I just ask you a question?
Sure.
So though, and help me if I'm wrong, I might be misreading this, but if we look at the parcel, or if we look at this map, and maybe Connor, you could go to it, page.
Showing the housing density around.
Showing the density, it's just right after the number 4.
Yeah, I can show.
So when I look at this, I see that adjacent parcels, there's 3 with 4 acres that have a home on them. Without a home, there's 14 parcels that average 11.6 acres. Within a quarter-mile buffer, we have, with a home, 23 parcels that average 8 acres. And without a home, 31 parcels that average 10. So I'm not disagreeing with what you said. I just was trying to clarify where you were, the visual or.
Yeah, I mean, I look at that and I say, well, we're averaging 8. Well, we're less than 10 for sure, you know, in the big picture there. But when you look at that specific neighborhood where this is, it seems that on either side of this, we're definitely bigger parcels, but right where this is, they're certainly more dense in that area. And
I just was.
and
looking
that
at
was,
it.
you know, because we're getting so many of these in this area right now. I drove through there yesterday just to look and get a feel of the character of the area. And that was really what I took away from it. Yeah, this is a larger parcel there, but when you look at the surroundings there, it's kind of the character of what that neighborhood is, and I know everybody, I don't want more houses there, but in my mind, if you're sitting on a 5-acre lot or an 8-acre or 3-acre lot, it's not a whole lot different than what we already have there, and that's the struggle that we have with these higher density zones, is, you know, is it my neighborhood or, you know, and so we've tried to be pretty consistent. RU2s, we don't go to that dense unless we're right on the boundary of a municipality, because it makes sense with that. But given the specific character of the area, then we'll use RU5 in those areas, and I think it's appropriate for this area. Sorry.
One concern I have on this is the access to Highway 23. That hasn't been resolved, and then, you know, I understand all the water conditions up in that area. That's a real concern. So those are two concerns we need to address.
It's just super slow. I'm not entirely sure why it's been slow recently.
Yeah, we were up on it, but it's unfortunate 'cause we can't pull in parcels. Are you done? I personally am not in favor of this, and the reason being is because we have done it and we have allowed it, yes, but we've been under 5, 2 to 4. I don't know, the one gentleman mentioned it. And if the county wants this, I guess I support it then, but until I hear that, every other neighbor's gonna be in here wanting to do the same thing. And where do we start and where do we stop? And so for that, I have a problem with this, and I'm against it.
Okay.
I don't disagree with you.
We're here to make a joint on this, just saying.
It's hard decision.
Yeah.
Any other comments?
I think that maybe the only other thing to point out that's in the record that I don't think has been re-mentioned, maybe it hasn't, I missed it, but is just that it is part of the Wellsville annexation area and the zoning.
The Menden.
Menden?
Yeah.
Menden.
There's another one for Wellsville coming up.
Okay, I'm getting them confused then, maybe. But the zoning density is similar to what they're anticipating.
And could I just clarify on that? We did not receive a comment from Menden City.
Try to reach out and.
Sure that's Menden City or Wellsville?
Say that again?
It's Wellsville. I mean, Menden City.
City or Wellsville?
It's Menden City.
Wellsville went clear about to the top of your page in their master plan.
I don't know if you can pull up the,
So what's mine? It's next to it. But mine is Wellsville.
according to the county, it's Menden.
The master plan goes.
A lot of cities overlap each other on their future annexation.
I don't know, he's gonna pull up the map
It
here.
could be in both.
It could be.
There's a good
Future
chance.
planning could overlap easily, we've
We
seen
don't
that.
even have these maps. You just drive through it and think, okay, let's do this.
They're there to confuse you. Okay, any other comments?
I would make a motion to recommend approval of the Gray Wilson rezone to the county council.
I'll second that.
Okay,
I think we had, yeah, with the 3 conclusions there at the bottom.
okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
Did you vote? I did. Oh.
You were nay or yay?
Yay.
Yay, okay. Okay.
4 to 2. Passed.
4-2, passed, okay. Okay. All right, we'll move to the next public hearing. The Funk Richmond gravel pit property rezoned.
Maybe it's just worth pointing out, it'll go to the county council next, and so
Yeah, the
you
next-
have another opportunity to give your input and make your persuasive arguments to the county council.
And it could still get shut down from UDOT, they didn't have that many homes.
Well, there's still water and there's
The
UDOT.
council meeting.
Exactly, that's,
We don't control those two.
no.
The water is the concern.
It is.
And whether you drill 6 wells or you drill 1 well to feed 6 homes, it's irrelevant. It's the same water consumption.
You have to be able to provide water.
Yeah.
And they may not be
But
able to do well.
this board has no control over that.
As long as they have water, then that meets our criteria. Yeah, yeah, they'll have to get water right through that.
That's,
Money buys that.
Staff is thinking it'd be the March 11th.
March 11th?
Yeah.
Cool, thank you.
Good job. Okay.
You may not be able to pan to this one, that might freeze your computer up for good. Try to show us a picture on this one.
We can try.
Okay, Connor, when you're ready for the funk.
Perfect. Alrighty, so this is a request to rezone 286.91 acres from the agricultural A10 zone to have both the industrial zone with the mineral extraction and excavation overlay. So to be very clear, it's currently A10. If this was approved, it would get industrial and the mineral extraction overlay. The lots match the configuration they had on August 8th, 2006 and are legal. And I'll read this next part slowly. Approved uses in the industrial zone includes caretaker's residence, general manufacturing, commercial kennel/animal shelter, storage and warehousing, self-service storage facility, transport services, general vehicle repair, mobile food truck, and telecommunications facility major. Approved uses in the mineral extraction overlay includes mineral extraction and topsoil extraction. Properties to the north and east are primarily used for agricultural purposes. Properties to the west are primarily residential, and properties to the south are a mix of residential and commercial or agricultural. Nearest parcel in the county that's in the industrial zone is located 1.5 miles to the northwest, and the nearest parcel in the county that has the mineral extraction overlay is located 0.85 miles to the south. Future land use, properties are currently not located in any annexation area. The Cache County General Plan states that this area is agriculture and ranching. Preferred land uses includes agriculture, ranching, rural residential uses at densities of less than 1 unit per 10 acres, conservation easements, conserved public lands, and agritourism. Secondary land uses includes industrial and commercial uses directly supportive of agriculture, so processing, packaging, and distribution. Clustered subdivision developments, outdoor recreation, and farm worker housing. Discouraged uses includes residential developments at densities of greater than 1 unit per 10 acres, if not in a clustered subdivision development, commercial office, commercial retail, flex office/industrial and heavy industrial. Roads, currently the parcel has frontage along US 91. UDOT classifies this road as a principal arterial. It services multiple dwellings and agricultural lands, but is primarily the main connection between Smithfield and Richmond. It's maintained by UDOT. This section of a US 91 is classified as an access category 4, which means a minimum driveway spacing of 500 feet and a minimum street spacing of 660 feet. Any access to the proposed development must be approved by UDOT. Currently, the only parcel that fronts the road is parcel 08-016-0034. Service provisions, Cache County Fire District didn't have any comments. The applicant will have to work with waste management for solid waste disposal. Notice was posted to the Utah Public Notice website in 3 public places and mailed to all property owners within 300 feet on January 24th. At the time of the staff report, I think 1 comment had been received. We're now up to 4. We don't have any recommendation, but we'll help you draft a letter to County Council.
Okay, thank you. Thoughts, commissioners?
We want to have the applicant
Sure.
talk about what their plans are.
Is the applicant here? Would you like to come forward and state your name and?
Should we open the public hearing first?
Should we do it after? Does that work? Or do you want to do it before?
Before we take any public comment.
Okay.
Right?
Everybody having fun so far? I know I am. Hey, my name is Hal Christensen. I'm an engineer, I'm a developer, and I'm a general contractor. My company is Terex Engineering and Construction. I do not own the property. I have a contract on the property to buy it. And part of my due diligence is to get the property rezoned for a gravel pit. I've been in the engineering and construction business for north of 45 years, and if there ever was a great place for a gravel pit, this is one. But having said that, I'm not going to blow a lot of sunshine. Gravel pits are ugly to look at, and they're noisy, and they're dusty. No doubt about it. But this is in a part of the county that's relatively isolated. Not totally, but relatively. And I understand there's probably opposition to the gravel pit because of the way they look, because of the noise and the dust. I understand that. But gravel pits are necessary evils. You got to have rock product materials to build roads, to build concrete structures, and Cache County is growing. In fact, I believe it's the third fastest growing county in the state of Utah. So, I saw an opportunity there to start a gravel pit. I thought it was a great location, and that's pretty much where I'm at. So, it's pretty straightforward. Happy to answer any questions you might have. Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I have one.
Sure.
Have you dug any test holes?
No. I have on the property, there is there's some exposed gravel lenses on the property. And I have researched it with the NRCS. They did a soil survey, and yeah, there's gravel there. And go ahead.
Well, I didn't want to interrupt you. I'm also familiar with the property, and I know that there's an open hole right now that shows gravel, but
yeah,
I'm also familiar with other parts of the property, and there may be some there, but it's possibly deep. So I just was wondering if you weren't confident that there was gravel on there, why you were wanting to put it on the whole parcel versus, or the whole thing versus, just a question.
Because the seller wants to sell the whole thing. The NRCS soil survey, yeah, it's, the soil profile varies, but there is sizable acreage of it where we're talking about topsoil, anywhere from 18 inches to 6 to 8 feet down. But underneath that, there's gravel material. But you can also sell topsoil. So it's just all material. It's a sellable commodity. So it's.
Okay.
So your expectation to this is you really don't know the extent at which you would mine this property?
Well, before
where the gravel is?
You know, I get it I have it under contract, and part of my due diligence, as I mentioned, is to get it rezoned. Now, if I get it rezoned, yeah, I'm going to send a few excavators out there and dig some 25, 50-foot holes in the ground and see what I have, yeah. That's my next step.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Where would you access Highway 91 at? From this, if you've talked to UDOT on that.
Show them, Connor. Where's the road there? Right there.
There's two?
There it is.
Yeah.
It's, there's already a substantial gravel road that goes, well, it goes to the east and then meanders to the south that accesses most of the property. And it would need some work to be able to handle heavy, construction material transport trucks, but it wouldn't take all that much, so.
You may already know the property, but move the map down a little bit. The other way, sorry. Okay, so right there above those buildings, there's a road that goes up. That road right there is the one that goes to the open hole now.
Let's see, I'm a little
And
confused.
you could possibly
Oh,
get,
right there,
you
okay,
could
I
get to
got
it from the other one with some modifications, but you're gonna be crossing a couple of draws.
That's not gonna be my main road in and out. Scale down to the south there, Connor.
So you're gonna, got that recorded, that won't be his main road in and out if this happens?
I'm more than happy to do that if I close on the
Oh, I
property.
just wondered.
Yeah, okay, go a little bit farther south there, Connor. Thank you. And over to the east. Okay, that little white spot right there, somebody did mine some gravel out of there, and that's probably about a 30, 40-foot cut, and it's all gravel. Good gravel. Staker Parsons has got one of their, well, I think it's their main gravel pit. It's about a half a mile to 2/3 of a mile south of there. And it's in and around the subdivision already. And in my opinion, it's about mined out. When I say mined out, if you're a gravel pit operator and you start digging holes in the ground, you're pretty much mined out. So nobody wants a hole in the ground. So.
Mr. Chairman, I got another question for you. And Connor, you could answer this. I may be wrong, but I don't see the parcel number on here for the one reference there with the white spot. No, come down, right there. Let's make sure that parcel number is on here. I don't think it is.
Should be. That's a 160 acre parcel.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions?
Why did you want to also rezone it industrial?
Well, maybe I misread the zone, or the ordinance. It looked like, what I interpret it as, first you gotta get it as industrial, and a gravel pit, in my mind, is an industrial operation. And of course, you gotta get the, overlay to mine the mineral. And, you know, gravel and topsoil material is a mineral, so.
Yeah, I don't. My understanding, Connor, correct me if I'm wrong, but he doesn't have to rezone it industrial, does he? Or does he, Angie? No, can leave it
as the existing zone. But the overlay can be over any zone.
Unless there was something he was doing outside of the mineral extraction overlay.
Yeah. Right, that's why I was asking was if you, when you rezone it industrial, that you're bringing additional uses to the property, potential uses, as opposed to just a mineral excavation.
As we speak right now, I'm just interested in a gravel pit. The property to the north is good agricultural property. I think they're growing, the owners now are growing alfalfa on it right now. It's going to stay that way. It's going to take that entire almost 300 acres. I did a digital terrain model on it. It has a potential of about 150 million cubic yards of material. I'm not going to dig that much anytime soon. So my plan is to start to the south on that mountainside. I'll call it a mountainside. And it'll probably probably take 20, 30, 40 years to get to the parcels that are north of that gravel access road. My grandkids will do it.
Okay, any other questions?
Had some comments in the back.
Yeah, we'll turn it open to public hearing now, but, okay, thank you.
Answer all your questions?
We might have some more in a few minutes.
We need to.
And
We're gonna open up
I just apologize for questioning that parcel. I'd read the number wrong and then my GIS was slow, so it's definitely on there.
Okay, if I could say something just real quickly, and I'll shut up and sit down. There is 4 major gravel pits in Cache County right now. Staker Parsons got one there in Smithfield, and you got the LeGrand Johnson Kilgore pit in Hiram, and then you've got Staker Parsons also owns a pit up on the Wellsville bench. Then there's a private gravel pit on the Wellsville bench. Altogether, according to my highfalutin digital terrain model, that figures out to be about 80 million cubic yards of material that's out there. You know, it's available for construction down the road. The demand for that, in my rough numbers, is probably looking about 20 years, 25 years. Cache County's growing. And anyway, so the existing pits, except for the Grant Johnson pit in Hiram, which I say is mined out, and the Staker Parsons pit in Smithfield is pretty much mined out. And I see where they've also tried to rezone and move their operation. Anyway, so this pit will be in competition with it, but they don't have the material to go past 20 years from now. I know it's a long time, but that pit is going to be here for a long time. So I guess what I'm trying to say is there's a market for it.
Okay,
All right?
thank you.
Thank you.
Let's have a motion for a public hearing.
So moved. Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Anyone who'd like to make a comment, please come up and state your name.
Christian Ravston. We own the parcel just to the north of you there. So my first comment is we do not oppose this. I'm a farmer and a truck driver, and we do need gravel, so we do not oppose the zoning rechange for gravel. I just want to make sure we clarify a couple of issues that will affect us dramatically since we live right there. If we access this gravel pit on the parcel that we've explained earlier, the one to the south, the access to the south, Connor's highlighting it right now, it's kind of a non-issue for us. If we access it from the north, it will decimate a conditional use permit that we have for agritourism. Being a truck driver, you're going to need Jake brakes coming off that hill, so it will decimate our conditional use permit for that agritourism if that access is used. So just for public comment, it's a big deal for us on which access is used for this. The second comment I'd like to make, and I think that we're going to hear this a little bit from a lot of us here, is the water. There's an easement on that property for springs. And I'm not an engineer. I'm glad you are. But I, as a public comment, and I think all of us here that have springs off of that hill, we need to, as a conditional use permit, and I know we're not there, but as we head there, we need to make sure that those easements are protected, that we can access those springs. And then the bigger question for me is, how do we know how a gravel pit is going to affect those springs? I don't have that answer, but I would request that it's engineered through a water engineer to help us understand how we can protect those springs as this process moves forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
I get a chance to address that?
You got to take public comment for a bit.
All right.
Gary Dent, we own the property that access road goes to. So the road he's talking about using for his...
Yeah, the south road.
Yeah, the south road is our access up to our property. I do not oppose, our family does not oppose the gravel pit at all. We would oppose an industrial rezone. That doesn't really fit a gravel pit or the agriculture that's going on there. It kind of almost sounds like maybe that industrial was thrown in, didn't realize that it needed to, or didn't need to be to get a gravel pit. But as far as the road, that's been in maybe Brady actually was probably part of that, or maybe it was just before your time when that was built. It's a pretty good road, but it would definitely need a lot of updates, and obviously UDOT would require a lot of things for deceleration lanes and stuff like that. But as far as just a rezone for gravel, we don't have a problem with that as long as what Mr. Ravston mentioned, the easements and the right-of-ways, things like that are still kept in place. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments?
I saw it hit you.
It came out. Joyce Jensen. We own the property to, like Larry Copeland right there, and we're south of that. Yes, that. And so that corner of the South Road goes right next to our property. I do oppose this, mainly because of the Springs situation. Our well is already has issues. I don't know what this will do to it. I just put in a beautiful pool, and all of this road, I mean the dust and traffic. I have grandkids that play in our pastures. It's very big eyesore, and that's Crow Mountain. That's a beautiful, beautiful area, and for this to go in there, it's very sad. So mainly the springs cause us concern. Dust, major dust already, let alone an additional situation. And so I would really appreciate consideration with that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments?
My name is Mike Dallin. I got the property just south of Joyce. We share the back fence line to Stephen Olson Living Trust. Just same concern on the springs. We use the spring in the back to water livestock. If something happens to the spring, we can't do the livestock. There's just not enough water in that area. So that's just the concern.
I'm Scout Ream. I'm talking louder. I'm to the north and west, right off the highway. My parents are Edward and Jolene Mendenhall, and our, like Sir Christian said, our water source is springs up there, and we're concerned that as layers are dug away, that might affect our water and our water source. And if we don't have water, where do we go? I mean, we would have to leave. And so that's one of our concerns. We're also concerned about the dust, and it does that is Crow Mountain, and it would be sad to see it eaten away. But those are our concerns, and I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we, one more?
I'm Edward Mendenhall, and I have property that adjoins there. Water is the big concern. Our water comes from a seep up the mountain about a block east of our house, and it's on this property that's being sold. So that's a concern. And I'm just curious, what happens to Crow Mountain if we have a gravel pit there? Do we, instead of having two parts, is it just one hump of the saddle left?
You just heard from the patriarch. AJ's in-laws were given the land where Crow Mountain is in 1896 by McKinley. Problem is I didn't have time to double research it, and you've got the information here. The point is, Crow Mountain, the Crow, has been in the Mendenhall-McCary family for longer than anybody here has lived. That's just the beginning. You all are talking about future. What do you want for your future in this valley? Do you want more houses? Do you really want that? Do you want more buildings? We've talked about water. How many of you have been in a home for more than one day, for more than 24 hours, without water that wasn't because somebody cut your line or because somebody ran out, you ran out of water, the city had a problem, the county had a problem, that our problem was the seep on the hill, of which we own 1 acre surrounding those seeps. Those acre, that single little acre, who knows how it's going to be, what's going to happen to that single acre and the water that flows into it. Spring Hill has water on it that is not in this man's jurisdiction, nor is it in David's jurisdiction. It has water. It could be what feeds our seep. We don't have the resources to find out where and how we keep our water. Christian Ravison didn't mention to you that at the bottom of Crow Mountain, just above the crook of the road, is where his spring comes from. I'm personally opposed to the thing. I've lived in Illinois. I have seen more mining than you all even can talk about. I've seen strip mining. If there's a piece of land that's stripped for any kind of soil, who's going to replace it? Who's going to fix it? Us? Our kids? Can you tell I'm a little wound up about this? I am. I'm really wound out about it. There probably are sago lilies on that hill. That's our state flower. You know, how much hassle do you all want to give this man a permit to destroy the Crow? The mountain that people in Richmond, for years before they weren't allowed on it any longer, would roll Easter eggs down. And in March, when the ice was so frozen, they would fly down it on sleds and toboggans. That land is no longer available to us. Some people share, some people don't. I am concerned about the highway. Our house was moved to build the newest part of the highway. No, it wasn't moved, it was destroyed. There have been 3 deaths on that highway in the last year. And my daughter and her husband and her 3 little children and I, and were you there, sat and watched that highway be stopped for how many hours? Because they couldn't get through. You're going to put mining trucks up there? What is going to happen to that highway? How big can you build it? How safe can you make it? Please think about that as you make this judgment. We live there. Brady, you're on the end of it. You know where it is. You saw the accidents. One of them was 100 feet north of our daughter's home. It's not going to get any better with a bunch of trucks up there. We're talking about pollution. We've had children and grandchildren that do suffer with breathing issues. It's bad enough already, isn't it? We haven't even talked about noise, what it does to our animals, the disruptions that's there. So, I have some points here. Number 1 above anything else is water. By the way, Copelands aren't here tonight. Their well runs dry. Scout was out without water for months when it was dry. Water's number 1. Number 2 is the traffic. Number 3 is the concept of what that is going to do to that mountain and the 100 and whatever acres around it. The folks that have to look at that every day as they go up and down that highway to work, which might even be you all. Is that what you want? Okay, I'm done.
Thank you for your comment.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we close the public hearing.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
I think the applicant wanted to address.
Would you like to come up and address anything? Okay, we invite you up to,
What, Mr. Chairman, while he's coming up, may I ask a question?
Sure.
So just in addressing the industrial, so that we can maybe get his standpoint on that, whether this passes or not, if it could be modified to exclude the industrial portion, Connor, would that still allow him to harvest the gravel and such?
Yeah, he just needs the mineral extraction to start. going
So,
gravel.
so I guess my question, Mr. Chairman, to the applicant, huh?
Say, I don't think we're able to do that. The question before us is what's proposed.
Okay, so I just was simply wondering if we could modify it to exclude that.
I think it's to come back with another. Okay.
Okay. If I understand what was said, the biggest obstacles is water, roads, and lifestyle. Let me address water. I forget which one of the people who addressed the commission have property that, well, let me back up. There is a 5-acre platted piece of property right in smack in the middle of one of the parcels that I am trying to purchase. And it is, yeah, show them where it's at. We kind of.
I think there's that 1-acre parcel up there.
Yeah, there's a 5-acre and a 1-acre, I believe. There's 2 of them.
Yeah, it's right here.
And they are the location of a collection system for existing springs. And there's a pipeline that goes out to the west that transports the spring water off to the houses. I have no intentions whatsoever of doing anything that would destroy or lessen the ability to get that spring water and transport it to the west to those houses.
How can you stop?
Ma'am?
Go ahead.
How can you
No,
stop?
we can't have comment like that. We've already closed the public comment, so it's not allowed.
Fine with me. All right.
Just address us, please.
Both of those diversions or groundwater diversions have a water right, a deeded water right from the state engineer's office. And I don't have any right to do anything with that. They own the water right, I don't. As far as if the flow is getting smaller or changing whatsoever, that's their responsibility to do something about it. It's like putting a well on your property. It has nothing to do with me. I am not going to, the property has 65 acre-feet of water rights. It takes nowhere near that kind of water to run a gravel pit. A gravel pit has a little office, it has a toilet and a sink, but we got to have a fire hydrant to load up trucks to keep the dust down. Add all that up, nowhere near 65 acre-feet of water. So we have excess water. Now, I would like to keep enough water to keep the agricultural status of the property to the north, to grow a little hay, maybe run a few cattle on it or something like that. But to me, water is not an issue. I'm not going to impact the existing groundwater rights at all. The next thing is the roads. I have no, yeah, that's a big issue. I live in Weber County, and there's a lot of gravel pits in Weber County, especially up and down the Perry Highway. And, yeah, there's some big trucks that is going to use and travel back and forth in that gravel pit. I'm talking 16-ton dump trucks, 40-ton belly dumps, the biggest and the best. Yeah, they're gonna travel that road, and they are gonna get on Highway 91. And I will have to do some redesign that intersection. I'll probably have to design some deceleration, acceleration lanes to accommodate that. But as far as the traffic on Highway 91, that's up to UDOT. That has nothing to do with me. That's their responsibility to see that that road can handle the traffic. And that's their business, and in my opinion, they've done a pretty good job of it. So, and as I say, I don't have no intentions of accessing that gravel pit to that road to the north. Who was it? That guy right there. Yeah, rest assured, I'm not going to access that one. You won't see a belly dump or an end dump or a damn thing. Okay? Lifestyle. I appreciate your comments about lifestyle, and you are absolutely right. Gravel pits are ugly,
Here,
dirty.
please address us.
Oh, excuse me.
Sorry.
Excuse me.
That's how we keep it
First time
civil.
I've tried this, so I'm a rookie. Yeah, as I said before, they're dusty, they're dirty, and they're noisy. No question about it. But the dust part of it, that can be controlled, and it will be controlled. There'll be no dust associated with it. So all you got to have is a sizable water truck. You take care of that in a heartbeat. But I can't do nothing about the way it looks and the noise. It just goes with the operation. Yeah, as a side story, you're looking at a farm boy from western Weber County. My dad, I was born and raised. I would have been the 7th generation farmer on my dad's farm. I always thought, I'm going to have kids, and I'm going to raise my kids on that farm. Well, you drive through Plain City, Utah right now, you see nothing but houses on my dad's farm and all the other farmers that was there in Weber County when I was growing up as a kid. How'd that happen? Because my dad and every farmer there when I was a kid, no way in hell you're going to see houses on my farm. Well, they're there. Why is that? My dad, he grew sugar beets, tomatoes. He grew a lot of field corn. He had a feedlot, and he grew a lot of hay, and he had a cow-calf operation. He had about 100 acres of pasture. It was a great life for a kid. But guess what? Nobody's buying sugar beets anymore. And if you want to sell your cattle, you got to truck them off to Colorado. And nobody's buying tomatoes. Nobody's buying potatoes. And the generation now don't want to be farmers. It's a hell of a lot of work. When somebody comes along with a hell of a lot of money, guess what happens?
I don't want to cut you off, sir, but.
What?
I don't want to cut you off, but if it's not relevant to this,
all right.
I don't think we need.
I'll cut my bloviating to an end. I'll end it right now. But bottom thing I'm trying to say here is, I understand you're concerned about lifestyle, but that just ain't the way the world goes. Sorry about that.
Thank you for your comments.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Thoughts?
So I've got similar concerns as a number have been raised, and mostly, again, the water, right? There's that spring. There's another one on the west side of Crow Mountain that's not on this property, but I think 4 or 5 homes also get water from that spring. And though you're not going to mine right next to those, I don't think we have any way of knowing as you dig that mountain down, what it's going to do to those water sources. And also any, the gravel pit there on the north end of Smithfield, it was there first. And then the homes came next to it, right? They knew what they were getting into. This, if we look at the other gravel pits we've approved in the county, they're not next door to this many homes. and this big of a gravel pit. This is probably as big as all those others potentially put together acreage-wise, so. For me, I'd have a hard time, recommending approval of either of the items up for consideration today, just because the water's a pretty critical unknown there that I think if you start taking off however many feet, right, he talked about 25-foot holes, and if you're taking 25 feet off of some of that stuff, you can affect where that water's coming to those springs, because they can be a pretty shallow seam. And even if you don't affect the flow, you can affect the water quality pretty quick by digging close to those veins. And we know they're coming from the east to west. I mean, that's a given in the valley. And so how far do you have to go down till you take 10 homes or whatever it is total with those different springs out of water? And so that's when I'm not comfortable taking that risk.
Mr. Chairman, if I make some comment on that, just to add to what's been said already. My major concern on this is the scope. 286 acres of an industrial zone, and 286 acre gravel pit. That's just a massive impact on the area, and I think it really is, way beyond what the carrying capacity of this area is.
Okay.
Chairman, I guess really kind of coincide with that. If we were talking about less acres and maybe just mineral extraction and not industrial, because there could be somebody else come in, there's several parcels there, all goes into that same thing. They could sell off a parcel to industrial real easy. And so to have that many acres and a combined extraction and industrial, I don't think I'd be inclined at this point to consider it that way.
Okay. Any other comments?
I think I would just add, we've approved a lot of gravel pits over the years that I've been around. And many of them that we've approved will go unnoticed for the most part, or expansions of existing operations, that sort of thing. So there's no lack of supply in the valley that I'm aware of. And with the number of approvals we've done in the last few years alone that haven't even come online yet. Crow Mountain's part of our natural heritage here in Cache Valley, and it would be a real disappointment to lose some of that natural heritage to a gravel pit or an industrial site. So adding those comments as well.
Okay. Do we have a motion?
I would make a motion to recommend denial of the rezone and overlay of the Funk Richmond gravel pit rezone request. I think we have based on, back down there.
4 conclusions?
Based on the 4 conclusions.
Okay. Me to add the one about natural heritage that Chris was talking about?
Yeah, we could add that on there. That would be a good
sure.
idea. In the 5 conclusions.
I second the motion.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Even though we denied it, it still will go to the county council. So you need to also go to that meeting as well.
Will we be invited there? Will we be invited to that?
You should, same.
Well, I don't know you speak. Might not be public.
It's an open meeting. I don't know if you'll be notified, but it should be on the 11th of March. That's what it's looking like.
Well, and just a reminder, they will limit you to 3 minutes, correct?
Yeah.
3 minutes, so get your comments down to.
Yeah. Okay.
So we know about that because you told us, and that's how we find out, you told us?
They also posted the agenda, the county council agenda, and I think they also post notices.
Correct.
Thank you.
Okay.
I got a letter.
Yeah, for this meeting, they come in the mail. For the county council, they won't send another notice out.
Oh, they also do set a public hearing? 2 weeks before. Yeah.
Okay, action item number 4, public hearing for the Willits RU5 rezone. Connor, if you'll lead us through that.
Alrighty.
Better safe
3 minutes on public comment.
Yeah. Thought I'd make that.
Once we moved the story time, I had to cut them off.
Yeah.
I could have gone for an hour. Yeah, I knew the men that they worked with them on the project. How you doing?
Okay.
Yeah, one left.
So the Willits RU5 rezone, some history on this parcel. In August of 2024, this parcel went through the rezone process trying to get to RU2. It was denied. So now they're back trying to get RU5. So this is a request to rezone 18.71 acres from the agricultural zone to the rural 5 zone. Should the request be approved, the maximum number of potential lots will be 3. The lot does not match the configuration it had on August 8, 2006. However, it is still legal. It's gone through BLAs and the splitting of a non-contiguous portion of the parcel. Approved uses in the RU5 zone include single-family dwelling, accessory apartment, accessory/agricultural structures, home-based business, seasonal cabin, residential living facilities, home-based kennel, bed and breakfast inn, religious meeting house, utility facility distribution, farm stand, boarding facility, and site grading. Adjacent uses to the east and south are primarily used for agricultural purposes, while to the north and west they're used for a mix of ag and residential purposes. The nearest parcel in the county that's in the RU5 zone is located a mile to the northwest. Future land use, the property is located inside of Wellsville City's annexation area. The Cache County General Plan states that this is agriculture and ranching. Preferred land uses, agriculture, ranching, rural residential uses at densities of less than 1 unit per 10 acres. Conservation easements, conserved public lands, and agritourism. Secondary land uses, industrial and commercial uses directly supportive of agriculture, processing, packaging, and distribution. Clustered subdivision developments, outdoor recreation, and farm worker housing. Discouraged uses includes residential developments at densities of greater than 1 unit per 10 acres, if not clustered subdivision development, commercial office, commercial retail, flex office/industrial, and heavy industrial. The property doesn't have frontage at this point, but the nearest road is SR 23. It's classified as a UDOT road, as a minor arterial. Services dwellings and ag lands, but is primarily the main connection between Mendon and Wellsville. Minor arterials are meant to provide a relatively high overall travel speeds with minimum interference. It's maintained by UDOT. This section of SR 23 is classified as an access category 4, which means a minimum driveway spacing of 500 feet and a minimum street spacing of 660 feet. Access to any proposed development must be approved by UDOT. Service provisions, Cache County Fire District had no comments. The applicant will have to work with waste management for solid waste disposal. Noticing, so there's a caveat with noticing since this came up before in an earlier meeting. If your property is in a trust, it goes to the trustee. So if you feel like you didn't get a notice or you should have, just please talk to me at the meeting. We can go through that. But otherwise, it was posted to the Utah Public Notice website in 3 public places and mailed to all property owners within 300 feet on January 24th. At this time, we've received 2 public comments. Recommendation, we don't have a recommendation, we'll help you draft one. One important thing to note is there's kind of a difference. Scott Wells got in touch with us and we talked about the Wellsville City General Plan. He's fine with it, he just wants to really emphasize connectivity between the private road that already exists on the property just above it and then any future development on this property. That's just what he wanted.
That's right. I was in that meeting.
We'll open that up to public hearing in just a minute, you can come up.
Yeah, he sent a letter that we
Yeah.
got from Scott Wells, he sent a letter.
Yeah, okay. Okay, Commissioners, any comment before we open up to?
I got one question for you, Connor. On the RU5, sensitive lands have to be taken out of the total acreage for development, so that part of the bottom, if there's more than 3.7 acres of that, that's sensitive lands,
He gets 2 lots.
it would cut it to, which.
Yeah, that's just why it says the max potential
Yeah.
is 3. We just
So
don't
a lot of
know
that looks
exactly.
pretty wet, that's probably not gonna meet the, may still only allow 1 if they, there was that much, but good chance you could lose more than 3 acres there.
Mr. Chairman, I just have a question for staff. So, I don't know why I don't remember this, but it seems like, and even when this was in here trying to be broken into a 2 lots, or 2 acre per lot, or less. What are just general guidelines again with a parcel like this that doesn't have any frontage? And do we have, I mean, we can see when we look at an aerial that, yeah, there's a cul-de-sac been put in there and there's a gravel road, but there's just so many questions going through my head about, I thought there was required distances from one driveway to another driveway, not only in the county, but on the state. I just don't see how this is gonna work.
Yeah, that's a big concern. Properties do require a certain amount of frontage in the RE5 zone. It's 90 feet, I think, sorry.
So where we got that at here?
That's part of what they would have to solve if they were to move on to a subdivision. It is denied, in the opinions for denial.
Okay, cause that's 2 huge concerns, is that we got a, no frontage lot, and then, yeah, I just, very concerning with the highway access and distance between driveways.
Yeah.
If I remember right, it's 500 feet with UDOT right on Highway 23 between access
That's
points.
for a driveway, it's 660 feet for a road.
Yeah,
500?
for a private lane and then 660?
660 for a road and then 500 for a driveway.
Yeah,
Thanks.
okay. Any other comments? Okay, do I have a motion for a public hearing? Open the public hearing.
So moved.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any comment, please come forward and state your name.
Supposed to teach dance at 6:30. So I am writing, so before I start, I want you guys to think about the frontage of the land, right? So I'm writing to express my strong opposition to propose the rezoning request of the Willits RU5 project. As a member of this community and someone who has had direct experience of the safety concerns on Highway 23, I urge you to carefully consider the potential consequences that this project could have on safety for the children who rely on the busing system. So I ride a special needs bus, and the special needs bus that I ride has, the kids are ranging from 3 to 19 years old, and there are multiple stops a day. There is a stop at 6 a.m., there's 2 stops at 8 a.m., one at 11 a.m., another one at 2 p.m., and another one at 3 p.m. And these stops are 100 feet north of this property and 300 feet south of this property. Also, you have Wellsville Elementary, okay? And the speed limit on this highway is 55 miles per hour, and it already has enough traffic on it. As I have ridden this bus 11 years, and on the highway for 11 years, I have witnessed firsthand how dangerous it is for these children. When we are stopping, I can't tell you how many times people are running our red lights. Like I said, Tuesday, my little boy getting off at 4120 South Highway 23, right next to this project. Guess who almost ran the red light? We had to lay on the horn, and it just slammed on their brakes. A 3-year-old boy getting off the bus. Okay, so my concern is who's liable if, let's say, there's an accident because the frontage isn't enough to contain this traffic. So who's going to be liable of this accident? Is it Jed or is it you guys? I want to know, because you have these special needs kids that are on this route, this close to this project, and I want the safety of these children. Let's see, sorry, I'm going back to my, and Mr. Willits was fully aware of the zoning restrictions when he purchased this property, and this isn't his first attempt. And And it is important to know that the north subdivision that he did put in, it doesn't connect to Highway 23, but there is plenty of traffic coming from that subdivision. So I can only imagine the oncoming traffic that's going to be coming from this frontage. 3 homes, but then the 10 acres that is next to it that will be onto that same road, that would be 5 homes that is coming on and off this Highway 23. You can ride Highway 23 and you can see the traffic. You can ride and see how many bus stops are on Highway 23. And so I am just really, really wanting you to protect our children, okay? The biggest thing is for these kids to feel safe. This is our community, this is our home, and like I said, these special needs children, they need to feel safe getting on and off these buses. And like that one stop is less than 100 feet from this road that gets picked up. So thank you so much for listening. Keep it. I have plenty.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll just state the facts, be quick. Fact is, number one, he knew what he's buying when he bought the 10 acres. He knew it was zoned for 10 acres. Second issue is, we know that it was denied from the county because of the frontage problem. And the other issue I want to express to the county is, you just heard that guy from the gravel pit say his area is all homes now. And I don't want to see that out there. You heard me talk about before about the 10 acres. And why do we have the 10-acre rule if you guys are going to go back to 5 acres all the time? Pretty soon you'll go back to 1 acre. We need to have a stop at 10 acres because it does ruin the area, right? Do we want to see all that area into homes? I mean, if I brought up the scenario of the camel in the tent. If you just let one person, which you're seeing, right, go to 5 acres, you're going to have to let more. You set a precedence. And I might decide to turn my other land into 5-acre lots. So you're setting a precedence, and that's all I want to say. Thanks.
Thank you.
My name is Mark Lyons, and I think Mr. Christensen may have answered my question. As I came here tonight, this thing was denied before for a couple of things. One of the major things was the frontage and that access coming off of Highway 23. And we had a gentleman from UDOT here who said, there's just not enough room there to put a road in. So unless that's been resolved, one of my questions is, why is this open again? Because UDOT already said, no thanks. There's just not enough access coming off Highway 23. A second reason that we had talked about was the wetlands, and I think that was addressed somewhat in terms of the sensitive land issue. And then the third thing that was mentioned last time was Mr. Willett's son expressed a desire to have a place for a home, that homes were so expensive, and frankly, that was the only thing I think we all agreed on, is that homes are so expensive right now. I've got kids trying to get into homes. I understand that. Within a week of our last hearing, there was a home brought in, dropped on that lot, I believe for his son. I don't know. I didn't check. Nobody needed to ask my permission for it. I think we're all fine with that. But to come back and say, okay, now we want to expand over what we said before, I just don't understand why we're meeting again over some issues that I don't believe have been resolved. You mentioned that the gentleman from the city had said, hey, we're okay with that. Before, they had a problem with that development because it was in part of that Wellsville annexation area. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Do you guys know where Marie Archibald's gravel pit is? You know where the gravel pit road? Well, his road is right there too, and you have gravel trucks barreling out of there, and they would be hitting. I also have video of that road when they have Marie's Archibald. I have a wall of water that came down, and it took out part of the road where the wheat tins are. Part of the road is missing, and it came down past Elna Hamilton and down by his road and made a big hole. So I don't know if that's a flood zone to worry about, but you need to be, and the thing is, I know you want people building, but have you seen the traffic? Can you even get through Logan and you keep building more? There's no other way but driving from Wellsville. We don't have bus transportation. So you guys need to think about traffic because it's getting awful. Have you noticed Logan so awful yet? Well, that's how it's getting on that Mendon Highway. Thank you.
I'm Evan Bankhead. I'm here basically for the Darley Spring Irrigation Company and for myself. I wish I could talk to you about water. I know I can't because it has nothing to do with you guys, right?
We wish we had control over it.
But water sucks, and we just sit here on all the ones, everybody that's here tonight, what's the concern? Water. And for some reason, whoever keeps giving these damn well permits out, they think there's a never-ending supply of water. And they say, it won't affect your springs. The springs for our irrigation that waters all our farm is across the railroad tracks that feeds into that dam, right there. So across that deal. So by keep drilling more holes in the ground up there, you cannot tell me that they're not going to pull the water that I own, right? So I know the water's not your deal. The first instance, the Mon property that you just zoned, that you just approved going to R5, okay? It wasn't you guys. I'm sure you guys weren't on the county or the zoning council then, but somebody down in Maple Rise started R5. Is that right? Somebody started it. Yeah. And that ties your hands, because now how do you tell somebody no when you just told this guy yes, right? I get it. It ties your hand. This property, did you say it was 1.5 miles from the nearest R5 zone? A mile. A mile. This isn't the next piece. This is a 1 mile from the next R5 zone. Jed Willett should be able to develop that property to R5 or R2 when it's going to grow. Things are going to grow. He's just going to have to wait until it makes sense to change it to R5 or R2. Nobody else around there's R5. There's no reason it should be made R5 because there's no precedence that's been set. So I'm just asking you to control the growth. I get how it's going to grow. Scott, if you ever die, I'm not supposed to talk to you, sorry. If Scott, whatever he does and that land gets developed, as it comes out to him, he'll be able to do it. But right now, it doesn't make any sense to me to make R5 when there's nothing around it that's R5. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jim Lichty. I live in that house in front of him. So when Jed developed that property next to us, okay, my well was the first well put out there in the 70s. When he developed that property next to us, he put 4 more wells within 400 feet of my well. A lot of you people don't think it affects your well. It does, I'm here to tell you. I have more sediment in my well than I've ever had. I had to put filters on my well because I was getting that much sediment in there. So before you approve that, him putting 3 more wells down below there, if you give him an R5, the other problem I have with you guys doing R5, you say R5, but he'll do 1 acre lot, 1 acre lot, and the other one can be a 16-acre lot, 17-acre lot. So that crams all those wells right next to my well. And that, along with that, you have all those septic systems sitting right on top of those wells. And you'll say, it doesn't happen. It can't seep through. Talk to Millville City. Millville City is doing a sewer system because they have to have a new well. And the State won't give them a new well because their septic systems had contaminated their old well. So it does happen. Something to think about before you approve it. So who's going to be responsible for my well if I have problems with my well that's been there almost 50 years? Never had a problem until then. Thanks for your time.
Hey, tell us, I caught your name, but tell us one more time where you're at.
Right in that house, right in front of where he's trying to develop.
In the Darley Trust house?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. That was the first well put out there in the 70s. Thank you. Whoops. My name is Phil Bankhead. I used to serve on the planning and zoning in Wellsville for like 15 years. And I learned a word, and it was called I can't save it.
Contiguous.
Yes. And anybody wanted to change the zoning around Wellsville, it had to be contiguous with what was there. That would mean that somewhere around this place, there's some R5s. Or it never happened. And that's one point. The second point is UDOT has said no. He sold his right of way to him, and I don't know how he's going to get it back, because if he does that, then he's going to have to. His lot will be out of specs or whatever. Once again, you guys are not responsible for making his guys living. And I'm getting damn sick and tired of him turning around every time to say, oh, I'm going to do something different. And we're going to, hopefully, he'll get tired of us. But guess what? We're not.
Any other comments? Mr. Will, okay.
Hello, I'm Kyle Larson. My wife and I own that 10-acre piece that has the frontage for that area. And my only comment is two things brought up about our thaw we had. The water needs to be taken care of, and the road access is not right. It needs to be correct. And it's not right at this point, and that's my concern. If the homes go in there and we ever decide to put a home there, the road is not right, and it needs to be correct before anything is approved, in my opinion.
Yes.
Kyle, so have you personally talked to UDOT yourself?
I have talked to them, yes.
Okay, so
may I clarify one thing?
Yeah, that's what I'm asking you.
Mr. Willis does have a right-of-way on that cul-de-sac. He does have a documented legal right-of-way on that, right? Yeah, so I wanted to make sure that was clear.
Okay, but here's my question. So did UDOT give you any indication of what they would require, or if you could even get an access, whether for one house or 5? Because I measured, you've roughly, depending upon which line we go off of, 120 to 140 feet of frontage. And if these guys, can't tell you, so that's why I'm asking you. If you've got to have 500 feet between your driveway and the neighbor's driveway, the Darley Family Trust is so right on the property line already. How is that going to happen for any of you?
Yeah, that's a dang good question. That's why I bring that up.
On top of that, you're within 250 feet of a major intersection.
Correct.
So there's some huge questions and red flags all over it.
Yes, that's why I bring up the road. I don't know all the answers to that, even though I have talked to them. I've talked to the county. They just responded back to me today, and I think there are some allowances for homes up to 5 or less than 5. After that, then it has to become a public road, and there's allowances that need to be considered at that point.
Thank you.
And that's all. Yes, sir. Hi. Okay,
Thank you.
that's all I have.
Thank you.
Jed Willits. Yeah, that right away, this was part of a boundary line adjustment. The two pieces used to come way over to the right where the two big trees are. That used to be the divider. So this property, Kyle's and this property that was one parcel. And then on the east of those trees and up was another parcel. So the previous owner, Darley Trust, we did a boundary line adjustment to make that so both of these parcels would have access through that easement. And I'll provide that to you guys and to county council, but that is an approved easement through UDOT. It was done about 2 years ago. It was improved about a year ago. So the approach, it was approved for a 2-lot or 2 homes, basically one on the north piece, one on the south piece. But I'm not sure what meeting everybody else went to, but that is an approved UDOT access.
For 2?
For 2, yes. And that's why it tees up. UDOT, that's one of their requirements, is they don't like all the diagonals that come in. And merely, I would like to align with Wellsville City's future annexation plan, which they've already stated. When they were in here, when I was going through RU2, they were opposed to the RU2 because it didn't meet what their future plans were. But their future plan up to that Maple Rise Road, or however far that goes up, is the 5-acre use. So, thank you.
I did talk to Scott Wells today, because I didn't know he sent a letter in, and he emailed a letter he sent to you, and he talked about, as this is a future annexation to Wellsville City, he doesn't want cul-de-sacs. The city doesn't want cul-de-sacs, they want through roads. And if there's more than 2 homes, they want a road improved enough, so if other lots get approved on another parcel, that road's a major road accessing Highway 23, a city road, is what his comments were.
Okay. Yeah, I know to get more than the 2, I would have to go back to UDOT, and they would say, well, I mean, as far as like the 1-acre parcel right north of here, the Darley Family Trust, Reed Darley Trust, this access is approved, but I would have to go and have them say, okay, you can do 1 more, or 2 more, whatever it is. And if they say, well, now you need to be this wide and that wide, when I was getting ready for, Tyler was looking to build my son, we just met the county, or what would be the road surface requirements, and we just took a lane down that yellow line on the north side on my property, all the way to where that little lane goes up in the middle. So just thinking that future road, that's where it would go through. I always kind of thought the county, with the clustering of homes, I always thought they kind of liked having more of the homes together and leaving more agricultural. I don't think it's the perfect fit saying, oh, this has got to be a 5-acre chunk, you know. I think it makes more sense to do an acre or 2 with a house, at least more, a bigger area open for agricultural purposes. So, thank you. Any other comments? Yeah, go ahead.
How wide is the easement?
I don't have it right in front of me right now. I should have, and I'll provide that to you.
Are you talking about the one?
I think it's 33
with
feet.
the Larsons? it's 33 feet.
So if that easement is 2, does that affect Mr. Larson's piece of ground?
Basically, that easement was approved. We did that boundary line adjustment, so it would be, there could be one house on the north piece and then one house on Kyle's piece.
Well, that's what
That
I'm
was-
saying, just so your participation of widening the road or getting access doesn't exclude what Mr. Larson's gonna do.
Yeah, in the county, right now, you can go up to the 5.
But that's
And-
with
and
the
that
county,
would-
we're not talking what UDOT's talking with the access that you just told us you have approved.
Yeah, it would have to all go back through UDOT. You know, we don't do the UDOT approval before we do this. So it's kind of hard to put the cart before the horse and just, you know, rely on UDOT approving stuff in the, you know, for just future. But yeah, originally that's the whole reason the 2 lot splits that this had was that boundary line adjustment. So the 2 bigger east-west parcels could be made into 2 and that could share that access. And then there's a little triangle on the other side of the railroad tracks. The county actually made that change. They did that natural boundary of the railroad track. So that was nothing that we participated in. They did it with the new, yeah. Any other questions while I'm up?
Thank you.
You want?
My name's Ashton Lichty. I do have a parcel down that way. One thing I do want a little bit of clarification on is on those 2 parcels, there is a piece that was down there farther that was owned by names of Betts. I don't know if it's still on there, but they sold a right-of-way all the way down through that property to get to that parcel way down there.
Do you know which parcel it is? Just one second.
Where's the section on that at?
It's north of there.
North of there? Okay.
Right there. Yep.
So the 12256 trust also has a right of way?
Yes, all the way down through that.
Right down that lane that goes on the side of the property there.
Between the Larsons and the Willets, or?
Mm-hmm.
But, so,
It's between the house, I don't know how to explain, it's between the house and the next property to the south.
That travels all the way down through.
okay, but,
30 feet of easement.
Mr. Chairman, so my question is, so is this just strictly an ag access? Was there any definition in that access, or was it expected
There
for a
was
home?
size of road.
Yeah.
I can't remember the size, but there was size of road.
But you gotta have clarification in it, did it detail this is for a home, or?
It was for
Just
agricultural access to the property. I was there when they was doing.
Didn't detail a home or not?
No, it,
Agriculture.
because they couldn't build because it was 10-acre lots, so it's just the agriculture access right there.
It could have been legal lot still.
8.44.
Hey, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Make a clarification. You don't need 10 acres to build, you just need a legal lot. The county minimum is half an acre. That's general knowledge.
They could build on it.
Okay, thank you.
Pretty wet down there.
Which, just another thing I'd put on down there, on my piece, it's like you guys have talked about. As soon as one person does it, another person's gonna do it. If you give it, I'm gonna ask for it. So, I'm against it, because I want farms to succeed. I grew up here, generations. Cache Valley is disappearing, and it's not for the better. People have been coming to this place because it's gorgeous, and we're losing that. And that's what I don't want to see. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? Yep.
So that easement was done to satisfy litigation that the Betts guy up on that property had, way back before I bought the property, but he basically was, I think he probably had in that lawsuit, a bunch of the people own these properties in here. He was basically just trying to seek an access. He bought that land for about $24,000 back, I don't know, 6, 7 years ago, and just thought he could get a road to a house out there or something. So that easement basically goes out from the front of the highway, and then it follows the whole north line. So right where the cul-de-sac is, it goes up that triangle, up that digit or the slant, and then it follows the whole north line. It's 21 feet. That's the easement. It's a recorded easement. So it's not a big enough of an easement, I don't believe, to have access a home.
20 feet.
I don't know with, the total amount of.
Issue too, though, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know.
So, but
It's 20.
it goes, up there and then it goes all the way, that blue arrow moved. So anyway, you're way down. It's, pull it up a little bit. So it goes, or the other way. Yeah, so it basically goes over to where that yellow line triangle is, right north of the tree, those two trees right in the middle of right there. And then it sticks with that yellow line on the north, go up a little bit, and then it follows the yellow, the line right on the barn dominium. It follows all the way up.
To the north.
Yep, to the north, to his parcel.
And then it hits that parcel right there.
Yeah.
No, it keeps going north.
Yeah, it keeps going north all the way up my piece. It goes to that lot. It goes right to that 12-256 trust lot is where it goes.
Does it access the Darley Living Trust one too, or just the
It does not.
12-256?
It just has.
Do you want to have people come up here and talk, or?
No, it's good.
It's not really relevant.
It's not part of this anyways.
I'll give you a quick
We don't
history
need-
real quick.
We don't need that. We're good.
Real quick, I'll make it real quick. So he bought the land and he's a person that goes about roundabout buying land, then suing for access. And basically, my cousin sold access, I think it was he paid her $24,000 to give her access to it. The land across it, which he bought, the farmer bought it off him for another $30,000 when he only paid something like $24,000. So it was a profit center for him. He has a brother-in-law that's an attorney, and that's what they do. They go around suing people for access, and usually you settle out of court.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I move we close the public hearing.
I'll second that.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Comments or suggestions?
I think if it wasn't for the access of only allowing 2 homes currently, I'd be more in favor of recommending approval. But if we recommend approval, he could go ahead and build 2 homes on that with those 2 access, and that would essentially steal the right of that other landowner to the south to build a home without UDOT approval. And so for me, without the UDOT approval ahead of time, I can't let it move forward in my mind, because it's taking someone else's property right potentially. And we can't set anything that says you can't do that in this meeting. So for me, that's the only reason I'd be against it. Otherwise, I mean, he's still got some other hurdles to jump to be able to do it, but that UDOT access, only allowing 1 home for each parcel, to me is a non-starter till that gets solved.
Okay.
I have the same concerns there. I mean, kudos to Wellsville City for commenting and saying this is what direction we want to go with that. That helps us in that. And I think absent the other challenges that are here, it probably makes sense. But with the access issues, I have a real hard time supporting it.
Okay. Any other comments? Okay. Do you have a motion?
Would make a motion to recommend denial to the county council of the Willits RU5 rezone.
Second. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
That was favor. That was with the four conclusions, right?
Four conclusions.
Verify.
Four conclusions.
25 feet.
Okay. We're getting close.
Is it 21 feet?
Okay, I hope so. Okay.
I don't think that's.
March 11th.
Regular county council meeting, it'll be on the agenda.
Yeah. Glad you didn't bring brass knuckles with you.
They're also at 5:30.
Yeah. Okay. Item number 6.
Yes, we will be super quick here. So just to let you know, the spring conference of the Utah American Planning Association is actually going to be held in Logan this year at the Riverwoods Conference Center, May 7th through 9th. And so we'd like to extend an invitation to any of you who would like to go. We can register you for that. I can.
Agenda of that you could send out.
I think they're still working on it, but yeah, the early bird ends at the end of this month, but you could tell me before then or after, it doesn't matter. But yeah, I'll send you the agenda once they get something together, but.
Is there a particular day that would be most advantageous if we, I mean, 3 days is a pretty big ask.
Yeah,
so.
it is. Again, I think they're still doing call for sessions, so once they get that agenda more solidified, I can send that out to you and you can take a look. So.
You show up for happy hour.
Okay.
And
Say
then,
you attended.
and then the last thing is half of you, I think, have gotten your annual disclosures done. The other half, they're still waiting on that, so if you could just get to that if you need it, or if you haven't done it yet. And if you need me to resend it, just let me know. So.
Okay.
But other than that, for the next planning commission meeting, we have.
Couple subdivisions, 2 rezones.
In
And the
between
Chrome
Millville
Fest.
or Menon and,
Yeah.
in between
Wellsville.
Menon and Wellsville.
Yeah. Let's get heated. Okay. Thank you.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Okay. Is there a second for that?
I second.
Okay. All in favor? Aye. Okay.
Kurt, you did awesome.
Oh, man.
Nice job.